much for coming to see me and listen to what ended up being the output of a fairly traumatic time, I probably would describe it, my experience of burnout and what I learned as a result. And Stretch is very much formulated as a result of that experience. So a little bit more about Collaborate and who we are. So we use this phrase beyond transactional. We're really passionate about supporting organisations to empower their leaders to support their teams to go beyond transactional. So starting to have conversations which are truly transformational, building connections in organisations that are truly transformational, having organisations where people want to go because they feel valued and inspired. So that's very much about who we are and what we're about. We established just under 10 years ago, post my corporate career, and our clients include people such as the World Wildlife Fund, the NHS and Arla Foods. We're based in the northwest of the UK, just outside Manchester, and mother of a 16-year-old who starts GCSEs tomorrow. So the little stretchy men that you've got, you can probably imagine, are getting well used in our house at the moment, not just by my 16-year-old, but quite a few of us, and quite a few of her friends probably are feeling the same way. If I was to share these pictures with you, these would have been the sorts of things that I would have been sharing back in 2012, 2013 on my social media, back with my family, back with my friends, talking about and sharing my experiences. I worked for 12 years for BA Systems, and part of my role was supporting and working on our international business winning. And I was incredibly fortunate to be able to go in and out of Abu Dhabi and Oman over a fairly extended period of time. So for about 6 months, I travelled probably for about 3 of them. So weekday travel. So if any of you have ever had that experience of business travel, everybody thinks it sounds very glamorous. You know, business class seats, nice hotels. The flight out was on a Saturday evening from Manchester. You flew overnight. I landed about 7:30 in Abu Dhabi on Sunday morning. For those of you who know the Middle East, they tend to work Sunday to Thursday. So I would literally get to the hotel, shower, change, straight into the office. We'd then work all the way through till the Thursday, at which point I flew home. But the flight home on a Thursday wasn't on a Thursday. It was actually 2 o'clock on Friday morning is when we actually took off, at which point you land back in Manchester about 7:30 Friday morning. And if you're lucky, you don't have to go back into the office. If you're unlucky, you do go back to the office. So quickly shower and change. Please don't think that this experience wasn't completely transformational, completely mind-blowing, developed who I am as an individual, and I learned a huge amount. But what I was unaware of at the time, because I kept telling everybody that I was fine and everything was okay, was actually I had pushed myself to the point of burning out. This picture was taken probably around about the July-August time. By the time I got to Christmas and we had discovered that we weren't going to be moving forward on the contract, that was the point of time at which I realised that actually I really was not very well. And my tipping moment was actually my 40th birthday. So 15th of January 2014, I turned 40. I don't remember how I got to work. I remember the meeting I went into because there was lots of shouting and lots of being horrible about HR, because that's what people do, as we've probably all experienced over the years. And I don't remember how I got to the canteen to have lunch with my best friends. The only thing I really properly remember about that day is sitting in the doctor's surgery at 5 o'clock, being signed off work. And at that point, it was very much a challenge to leave the house, get out, do normal things, and be a parent to my then 6-year-old. Who needed a mum to be taking her to and from school. I would probably guess that there are people in this room who have either had an experience like that, have potentially had it and come out of the end of it, potentially feeling that they might be in that experience right now, or have got to a point whereby they felt as if they were almost there, but have managed somehow, through the support of family and friends, or through the support of just actually making fairly fundamental life decisions to change. I didn't, I just kept going. What was really interesting actually was my HR director, when I did finally return to work, she asked me, what do you think would have happened if we had won the contract? So the tipping point for me was actually we didn't win. But she said, what do you think would have happened if we had won the contract? And I said, I think I would have just kept going. And then I think the fall probably would have been even harder than it actually was. So whilst that experience was important and it was a massive learning curve for me, what I also needed to understand was A, how I got there, which is something else that I can share with you at some point, but B, how am I going to stop myself getting there going forward? And actually, how can we support others? This is based on my lived experience. This is not based on psychology and lots of research and me spending lots of time talking to lots of people. This is just the things that I know worked for me. And I really hope that some of them will really resonate for you as individuals, but you can use it for teams and you can use it organisational wide, to be brutally honest with you. You will all have now got one of these little guys. This for me really kind of epitomises kind of how I felt. So for those of you who have got them in front of you, you literally can stretch them. I shouldn't do that with the mic, should I? You literally can stretch them. I have had somebody decapitate one in a session before now, so please try not to pull his head off, but, you know, they're not the most robust things. But the idea that actually, you know, when you start to think that I am pulling myself a little bit too far, it does feel as if, you know, you really are stretched to your limits. So we developed Stretch. And stretch is a mnemonic, so it literally just follows the letters of the word stretch as a toolkit to enable you to potentially start to think about what are some of the mechanisms that I could potentially put in place for me. What we've done recently with Stretch is we wanted it to become a really tactile tool, and we wanted to be a tool that actually anybody could use and they could make it their own. So whilst we've given some definitions to the elements of stretch, how an individual sees those definitions, we're not being prescriptive about. You can use this tool to how you want to make it work. And how you want to use it is very much up to you. It's a really cool framework to just hang some thoughts and ideas on. This is some great work that we had some artists do for us. Anybody wants to get into this sort of space, the company are called Inky Thinking. They are totally awesome, and they do graphical illustration and recording. And I'll tell the guys there that I plugged them this week, and they'll be very happy. S in the model talks about strength. This is not about carrying on, look at me, you know, I'm really strong. It's about resilience. But the big thing for me with the strength side of it was, for me, it was about strength to know when enough is enough. How many here feel confident to say no? How many here feel as if they know when they are maybe 80% full? Or do we leave it until we are 110% full, at which point we think maybe we still need to start saying no? For me, where strength comes through is I am not very good at saying no. Quite happy to admit I'm not very good at saying no. So my definition of strength is yes, but. So I was going to say yes to this, but what are we not going to do as a result? So it's not me saying no, but it's about getting into a conversation that enables us to have a debate around really where are the priorities. The big thing I learned from this one was a colleague of mine went on maternity leave. She very, very diligently put together all of the packs of all of the things that she was working on. I mean, we're talking lots of packs of all the things that she was working on. She was an HR director. She went on maternity leave. She literally had 6 months off. That was the time that she had off, was handed over to a colleague. And when she got it back, all bar about four things had been looked at out of the entire deck of packs that she'd put together. So only 4 projects had survived that 6 months while she was away. So again, thinking about where our priorities, are they our priorities, are the business priorities? I have a phrase, I chase shiny things, so I like doing lots of new and different things. But again, it comes back to where's my strength to say, actually, Louisa, you shouldn't be doing that at the moment. You need to be concentrating on something else. Talking was huge for me coming out of this experience. Yes, I did have some counselling afterwards, but I found that talking for me is really important. I've done work with Perry before. He talks about who are your Avengers, which I love as a definition. Sometimes you need the Hulk, sometimes you need Captain America. They have very different roles. So who are your Avengers? Who are those individuals that you talk to for different things? Who's the person you pick the phone up and just go at? Or who's the person that you need, you know, that really, really stiff conversation with that puts you back into the place that you need to be in. The next one for me was about reflecting. I'll pick up reflecting later because we're going to dive into a couple of the areas of the model shortly. E is for emotion. And for me, it was very much around letting emotion in or understanding my emotions, being able to recognize actually where I was beginning to get a bit down, where I was beginning to have those challenges. What are those emotions telling me? I also know that from an emotional point of view, when I am quite high and I am quite bouncy and I am quite happy, that's when I chase shiny things. So that's my danger, is actually I then take on too much. So it's about, for me, around finding where do the emotions play? How do I support myself by better understanding the emotions that come into play? I'm a really strong believer that actually, to an extent, time is in our control. I'm a really strong believer that I can be better at managing my time. I'm a massive advocate of work-life harmony, or just life. I think when we start to talk about work-life balance, they become opponents of each other. Work for me is quite important, but I don't want it to be a battle with my life. So I've dropped the work-life balance and I just call it life balance. It's my time, it's in its totality to understand how I work through. The C's for challenge, which I'll pick up again shortly because we're going to dive into a couple of these. And the final one, the apple, is for health and happiness, because actually that's something that we all need, and we're worth it. Not to pick L'Oreal's strapline. I hope nobody from L'Oreal works here or is in here at the moment. And that was the thing that I massively compromised on. I massively compromised on things like exercise. I massively compromised on things like diet. For any of you who have done lots of international travel, you pretty much survive on rubbish. And I drank an awful lot of alcohol because that's what we did. We'd get back from the office, we'd all meet in the hotel. We were on the hotel kind of bar menu, which was basically lasagna, burgers, fries, and quite a bit of gin and tonic. And that's what happened. So actually what happened was my health was the thing that really suffered as a result. So part of Stretch is really about understanding what makes me healthy, what makes me happy, and making sure that I factor those elements into what I do. I've kind of gone into strength, and as I say, that moniker for me of knowing when enough is enough, and the ability to say no. Reflection was quite an important part of my recovery. Here's a question. When was the last time you wrote your CV when it wasn't for applying for a new job? Who here regularly writes a CV when you're not applying for a new job? Lady there. Anybody else? A little bit. How many of you go into your performance review at whatever time of the year the performance review might be in your organisation, and you've had a bit of a scrabble around to remember what it is you actually delivered this year, to be able to go to your boss and say, these were my objectives and this is what I achieved? Basically, we can remember probably what we did yesterday. If you're lucky, maybe a couple of months ago. I used to go through my calendar and go through the meetings that I'd been in. For me, there's a massive part of reflection, and reflection being something that I positively do on a monthly basis. What have I done? What did I say I was going to do? What did I manage to achieve? The reason why you have coloured pens, not only because they're cool and we haven't had these sort of 4-colour pens for a long time, maybe some of you haven't, but also the ability to be able to journal different things at different times. So can I journal those reflections? Can I journal and pinpoint the things that, as I say, I'm genuinely really proud of? Those are the things that I want to remember. Do it in different colours. However you want to journal is up to you. But the journaling in different colours really, really worked for me. But I would be a massive advocate of reflecting on what you've done, reflecting on what you've achieved. We often reflect on the things that haven't gone well. We don't very often reflect on the things that have gone well. So big yourselves up, give yourself a pat on the back every now and again, and celebrate and share what you've done. A challenge was a big one, and this was a really interesting one that we added in, and a lot of people would potentially think, hold on a minute, do you really want to add more challenge into your challenge? The reason why challenge is here is because I really want to advocate to people that they don't stop challenging themselves. Don't stop pushing the boundaries, because the minute we probably stop pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves, then actually the danger is we then stop learning, we stop growing. So that continuation of challenge was really important for me. So I left my corporate career less than 18 months after my burnout, and I set up my own organisation. You know, huge challenge, massive challenge for me, but I kept pushing that because that was what was important for me. I couldn't not continue to challenge myself and make sure that actually I delivered on what it was that was important to me. So stretch is all about some tools, some techniques, some thoughts and some ideas as to how can I ensure myself when that opportunity arises, I've put myself in a really, really good position. I've given myself some tools and techniques. The rest of the model is in that little concertina that we've given out. There is some further definition about it if you want to come and have a chat with me later. And the idea is you can use it for yourself. You can use it as a journal. We can also use it with teams. So there's a workbook and all sorts that go behind this. For any of you who are massively into crafting, there's even stickers that will be available. Because for me, it's the words, it's how you make them, yeah? So how you make them and how you resonate with them, not what I'm telling you these things mean. Because for me, the model needs to live with you and be part of who you are, and what you feel is your stretch and how you cope with that stretch moving forward. Again, that kind of transition to reality is really important for me. So this was our holiday a couple of years ago. The reality of the pool, the reality of the sunshine, the reality of, oh, look, check me out on social media. I'm on holiday, isn't this lovely? Actually, that was the reality of my holiday that you didn't share on social media, which was me working by the pool and trying to get my head straight on the business. This isn't me saying, oh gosh, feel sorry for me, I was working on holiday, that's my choice. But I think sometimes it's about recognising what we see and what we hear and how we're made to feel, going back to the reality of actually what's happening in everybody's space. Go back to that picture of me in Abu Dhabi. The reality of that would be, gosh, she looks like she's having an amazing time. Internally, I was going through absolute turmoil. So again, that real reflection of reality and what that looks for you. So stretch for me was a journey. It was a journey I needed to go on. It was a journey through some fairly turbulent times. It was a journey based on experience of something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. Even my, worst enemy. Not that I have a worst enemy, but, you can probably imagine the sort of person you wouldn't. The journey took me through this very, very dark place, but very much led me into a space whereby I feel more able to push myself and have those challenges. If you're standing here or sitting here and thinking, oh gosh, she's got it cracked, I definitely haven't. If I can tell you, I got hit by the train strike. I had a very big banner that DHL have lost. I've ended up having to drive here. And last week I was in Europe. And I moved offices at the weekend. You can probably think, actually, I've massively overstretched myself over the last few weeks. Yes, I have. So this is still practice for me. It's not something that I've cracked. It's not something that at the moment I probably feel as if, I'll never get to that burnout stage again, but hopefully I won't do. The precursor to stretch is actually our sort of sister model, which we call breaking. And it was the triggers that actually did cause me at a point in time to push things a bit too far. So it goes on exactly the same principle of stretch. It's a mnemonic, and you can use it in a number of ways. One is actually, am I getting to a point where I could be breaking? Or is it at a point whereby I need to recognise that I need to break something, i.e. I need to break the cycle, I need to break where I am. And again, it was about those things, those triggers that I recognised were beginning to kind of creep in and actually I fundamentally feel caused me to break at the end of the day. So part of the post-conference pack that you'll get loads of information, you'll get these slides. There's also an invitation to a follow-up webinar where we take you through breaking, so you can see the breaking model as well. So please, it's a Zoom call in a couple of weeks' time, so it'd be amazing to see you on there. I'm almost at time, so I'm just conscious that there might be some questions. I'm also conscious that the next talk starts at 5 past. So any questions, then I'm more than happy to ask. If you haven't got time now, I do have a stand in the main room and I'd love to see you.
Yes, so a big thank you, Louisa, for your wonderful presentation. So just give you a big round of applause.
Thank you.